says the items on the consent agenda will be enacted or approved by a single motion or omnibus vote. There will be no separate discussion on these agenda items unless so requested by a member of the village board, in which case that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in the normal sequence of the agenda. So normally when if we're going to vote on anything, then the public will not have the opportunity, under the way this is worded, to provide us with any input.
That's correct. And for the items on the consent agenda, there were not debate. That is correct.
Okay. The new paragraph F, the old paragraph E, special rule, the new rule will be 6. It says the general public shall be afforded an opportunity to address the board on matters not on the agenda during the portion of the order of business and set aside for the same, subject to the same protocol as set forth in special rule number 4. And special rule number 4 says that the maker of an important complicated motion shall be prepared to furnish the same in writing to the clerk at the time moved. To facilitate this, the president may from time to time declare a brief recess. So I guess I'm just confused as to the relevance of that subject to the same protocol as set forth in special rule 4 as it relates to the general public, since that appears to be special rule is a kind of an Oscar Brown type rule. It says you've got to put it in writing so we can properly consider it if it's long.
That looks like it may be a Scrivener's error where that was the old special rule 4.
Subject to the same protocol as set forth in special rules here.
Yeah, but and then when you read rule 4, it relates to having a complicated amendment, I guess, to an ordinance, be put in writing and submitted to the clerk.
Correct. I guess when I say Scrivener's error, it should read special rule 5 as amended as compared to special rule 4.
Right, it's just a scratch off when they do this on the computer. You see legit. That's what he's saying, it's a scrimmage.
Okay, so that needs to be amended.
That would have to be amended to say special rule 5.
Now, on this page 5, the old paragraph G, new paragraph H, special rule 8, it says, no vote of the board shall be reconsidered or rescinded at a special meeting unless there are present at the special meeting as many trustees as were present when the vote was taken. Now that to me says that preempts Robert's Rules of Orders, which allows us to, the prevailing party to rescind a vote or to have a recall to be voted on. Again, we've done that a couple of times. So I'm just wondering if that is really something that, should be ended. And then essentially, and we've had this happen also, so if we take a vote and somebody doesn't agree, and we want to do a reconsideration, and somebody walks out, whether, in protest or because they have other things to do or they're ill or whatever, then you can't take you can't take a vote on it. And if you don't take a vote on it, you can't do it the next meeting. Because you want reconsideration.
Would that also affect when you have like a lack of quorum? Would that be relevant to that as well?
No, you have to have a quorum in the meeting.
Yeah, but I said, but like you're saying, if they walk out there and they have a lack of a quorum, is that the same?
No.
Or
You can still have a quorum.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If there's a lack of a quorum, you can't.
No, trustee Payne, I'm sorry. Trustee Payne, I mean, when you're saying if they get up and walk out and then you have no vote, this shall be considered reconciled in the special meeting unless they're present at the special meeting and the trustees were present within the vote was taken.
Right.
That's
So,
what you mean.
right, exactly. So if we have 6 trustees and the mayor present, somebody walks out, you can't do a reconsideration. That's what that says to me. And that to me says that supersedes Robert's Rules of Order, for which we're conducting the meetings by.
And that special rule was not amended. This is the special rule that's been in place or it's currently in place, actually, it's just called Special Rule 7.
To make it right, we got a lot of things in place that ain't right.
Right,
So.
Right, that is,
So because it is here, should we correct it? That's
Wait, I have a question before you talk about changing it. So when you usually rescind a motion or a vote, shouldn't the people who made the original vote be there to rescind it? So wouldn't that be the same thing? The 6 people?
But that's not what this says. It says that you have to have the same number of people there as when the vote was taken. So if a person leaves, then you cannot do reconsideration.
That's,
Trustee, I think what the rule is saying is if you take a vote at a regular meeting, even though it doesn't say regular meeting here,
It's a
so,
special meeting.
yes, sir, special meeting.
Right.
You can't rescind it at a special meeting unless the number of people that were at the meeting where the vote took place. So I'll use this as an example. Say we have this regular meeting and we pass something we don't like, we want to pass a motion to rescind. Oh, no, you're going to do a motion to rescind only 4 people come to the special meeting. Since all of us were here for this vote, you can't take that action at the special meeting because the number of trustees that voted aren't here, aren't at the special meeting where you made that motion. It has to be at a regular board meeting. Or
But that's not how this reads. It says, no vote of the board shall be reconsidered or rescinded at a special meeting unless there are present at the special meeting as many trustees as were present when the vote was taken. Right.
And that's what's
So-
currently in the records.
right.
Well, but if, it needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. And one final thing, I don't want to take all the time. Special rule, the next paragraph, the next rule, special rule, which will be the new 9, old paragraph H, paragraph I would be the new paragraph. It says, any person at a public meeting is permitted to use portable silent tape recorder at such meeting, provided that its operation does not interfere with the overall decorum and proceeding of the meeting. Well, why is there only a tape recorder listed? I mean, everybody videotapes now, and that's
Again, this is an
a
old
lot.
ordinance. It's an old
well,
ordinance.
but we're scheduled to vote on this, and if it's not right, we need to change it. So, I would make a motion to table it.
Thank you. No, I'm just saying, ordinance like a chocolate.
No, I would just make a motion, then, Mayor, just to table this until we can get these corrected.
Okay, no problem.
All right,
Is there a motion? There we-
Yeah, I should be a second.
Because I actually have a question.
And Wilson second.
Yes, it was a second, Wilson did second. Okay, so we will change it.
Roll call on both sides of the table. Oh, no, this was the motion originally. Second the table.
Who made the motion to make the table? And the second or what?
I can't get a second.
Who's
I had a question.
Okay, well,
Well, Madam Mayor, then I would withdraw my motion
Okay.
to table until Oscar Brown, trustee Oscar Brown has a chance.
okay, go ahead, sir.
All right, my question in regards to the committee as a whole meeting is, there's no set agenda or no rule for that, so the agenda could be set however the mayor or a mayor sees fit for the business university parks. They could put like an old business and a new business under the committee of the whole and still conduct,
The whole, yeah.
the business for Bozeman University Park.
Okay.
That's my question. I don't see anything restricting, so I'm assuming that you can.
There's,
Trustee, I'm sorry, clerk. The clerk one.
I thought that was the intent, we would present a proposed agenda for public input,
Right,
just for discussion.
Right.
That's what I understood this whole,
yes, and that was.
all this was for,
Yes.
to allow the public their chance to make their comments at the committee meeting of the whole without any action being taken. And that agenda would be amended or adjusted before it comes forward to our action meeting.
Right.
That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, but there's nothing to stop us if we needed to take an action at, say, the second meeting. I'm not sure which one's going to be the regular meeting, which one's going to be committee of the whole. So nothing to stop us from putting something on an agenda
Right, the first one
in
would
a
be,
committee of the whole meeting.
the first
have
one
to
would
do
be
a
the
special meeting. We could do the committee of the whole and a special meeting with those agenda items as I understand for that first meeting of the month.
It was just my understanding that the whole purpose of this was to expedite the meetings.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I guess, I just want to make sure the public has sufficient opportunity to provide input, because sometimes we have a lot of dialogue, and sometimes we have to send some things back several times. So if we do that, and they don't have a chance to see it, because they don't have a chance to see it before the regular board meeting where there's a consent agenda, then, and it doesn't provide, it specifically says there should be no discussion, then, you know, they don't have a chance to provide additional inputs as they hadn't seen. So,
Possibly to address that, not every item has to be under the consent agenda for the regular meeting. You can have items under the consent agenda, but also still have items listed as action items as they are done now for debate and for discussion at the regular meeting. Not every item has to be placed on the consent agenda. It's just items where it seems like there'll be a consent so that only one vote would need to be taken as to all those items within that portion of the agenda. I don't know if that answers your question.
And, but let me,
I'm sorry, Trustee Wilson?
So, just for my clarification, at the first meeting,
Right.
that's where all the agenda items will be for open discussion
Yes.
from the board and the residents.
Correct.
So, Trustee Payton, that's where they would have their input.
Right.
And then the action meeting we would vote on it if the board all agreed on the consent agenda. But they would have input at the first meeting when the
Right.
board has open discussion.
yeah, I know, my thing, Trustee Wilson, is that they should have the opportunity to see the final product before we vote on it. You know, because again, you know, we have,
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. What would happen at the consent agenda, it would be open to the public. They will discuss it thoroughly. Everyone will talk about it. We'll have input back and forth, and then we'll say, okay, fine, agreeable. And then at the final meeting, where it was consent agenda, those things would have been discussed, those things would have been spoken about and agreed upon, and then we'll just go through. But before that, it will be open to the public. They'll answer the questions, they'll have input, we'll have input, we'll discuss it, talk, questions, whatever, and then, okay, it's good to go. And you finalize it, and you put it on the next agenda, we just go bam, 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 because it's already been discussed, question and answer.
What if you
So-
change something? I'm sorry, what if you have changed something? And just as he said, I don't get to see the whole thing as, oh yes, okay, we're gonna amend this, we're gonna change this. How do I, as a public, get to see this?
Okay, I got you, discuss, you're right, and we'll be discussing it. And so we'll have a final understanding of it and say, okay, sure, we're gonna change that, just like you said, to change it to move out tape recorders and put all video. So it will be understood, concluded, and then finalized and say, okay, we all agree, this will be the finalization, right there at the discussion. Clerk G. Jones, can you add to that as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to make
There you go. I heard it.
just for clarity, nothing in this proposed ordinance takes away the public's right to speak at either meeting. If you look on the agenda there, on the proposed, even with the consent agenda, there is a general public. So they would still have their opportunity. This is, as I'm understanding it. So the public would still be included at either meeting. However, the first meeting would allow the public to give their input, and the board take it, consider it, and if there are changes, the agenda would still be posted prior to, with every item. Whereas on here it says unfinished business, new business on the consent agenda. Each of these items would be listed, same as they're listed now. on the agenda. It's just that one vote to approve could be a collective number. However, before that's done, any of those items could be pulled without a reason by any member of the board.
Clerk Jones, on page 4, paragraph C, special rule 3, specifically says, items on the consent agenda will be enacted or approved by a single motion or omnibus vote. There will be no separate discussion on these agenda items.
Right.
Unless so requested by a member of the village board. That doesn't mean that the public can,
Because you
in
pulled.
which case the item will be removed
Right.
from the consent agenda. But that's for us, not necessarily the public, to be able to provide input on the final item.
Keep going.
We remove from the consent agenda and consider it in the normal sequence of the agenda. There will be no separate discussion on these agenda items unless so requested by a member of the village board.
Right now, do residents have discussion after they have their comments at the beginning of the meeting?
Do that.
So you're saying, like,
Well,
while we have a discussion
Well,
right
let
now?
me answer your question, your comment. First of all, the existing rules do provide for the general public to speak on individual items. We just have not done that. That's the first thing. So the second thing is, yeah, it's understanding rules. It's understanding rules. We just have not done that. Okay?
Then it'll be the same as we've been doing. If somebody
It
wants
changes
to,
that. It says here, there will be no separate discussion on the agenda items unless so requested by a member of the village board.
Okay, why don't we just
Table it.
Right.
Okay.
Could I just,
Clerk.
it's just ask a question that might make it easier. When this was presented for first, second, and third reading, and Trustee Payton mentioned the consent agenda then because it wasn't added. Would the board consider as part of, even if it's tabled, to bring it back without the consent agenda, and let's get the board and the public on board with the change as we're proposing it, and then see how that works, and then bring it back with the consent agenda?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm not asking, let's not do this.
Okay.
I just want to, when we have
I hear what you're saying.
we have the final product, let's have it right.
Back.
Okay.
Yeah, try
No
to
problem.
the consent agenda,
Okay.
but with everything.
All right. So we have a second. We have a vote on the floor.
I'm
All right.
trying to be
I would-
I just want to make sure that the public, public has an opportunity, every opportunity they can
Yeah.
to weigh in. You
Yes,
understand
ma'am.
that?
Yes, that's what's in there. Okay. We have a second.
Now, Mayor, I would like to make a motion to table this until we get the language and final product done.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustee Williams? Trustee Wilson?
No.
Trustee Brooks?
Vote aye.
Trustee McMullen?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Both sides.
Trustee Payne? Trustee Brown?
Aye.
And Mayor Cummings?
Aye. All right, we're gonna table this one. And please, guys, let's get this going. I mean, everybody, please give me everything and get it clear so we can pass this next time. All right? Okay? All right. New business. First reading, an ordinance amending section 440-09 of chapter 440 of title 8 of part 4 of the codified ordinance of the Village University Park prohibiting overnight parking in the streets without a permit. Is there a motion? First reading. Moved by Trustee Brooks, second by Trustee Oscar Brown. Question, comment? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Trustee Wilson and Trustee Oscar Brown.
That was Trustee Williams.
Oh, Williams, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm trying to find out, you're saying that they need a permit. Now, years ago, when this order was written, and it should be in our archive, that it still should be there. Pretty sure you should know that. Back in the day, there was no parking, especially on Vernon, because it's so narrow. It's dangerous. It's dangerous with the school buses, with the kids getting in and off that bus. You cannot get by there. Just like this. If you put your hands out on either side, you can shake the hands of the person in another car. The school buses are there, especially in the wintertime. You can't even go down the streets. There's never been no parking. The only time that there was parking there was when a person was having a party and they let the people, come in and they park, but they had to be gone by 2:30 in the morning. And if they were spending the night, they had to be out. I think it was like 6 o'clock. I'm not really sure, but this was back in 1972. What's happening now is too close cars are getting too dangerous with our kids in the school buses, and the cars are just driving fast.
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I'm not mistaken, before we were elected, wasn't the ordinance or there was the overnight parking lifted? That's why.
Yes, it was.
Okay, and this should be the first step of regulating that parking then. Trustee
So,
Williams.
just a second.
Hold on.
So let's answer this. So this has been a issue I've been tackling since I've been the chief of police, since I got here in 2015. Previous Chief Bradley brought before board a change of the parking regulations in which there was restricted street parking. That was changed in 2014 before the Board of Trustees, and they changed the parking regulation to no parking on the same side of the street with a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet. Okay? The police department tried their best to enforce that ordinance. In late 2016 or mid-2016, that ordinance was challenged by various residents that were reading that ordinance, and an administrative law judge stated that there's no way that the police department can measure 1,000 feet from a fire hydrant and be able to make that determination while actually using a measuring tape to go out there and to measure it. Secondly, when the ordinance was enacted in 2014, the village never bought the proper signage to place on the streets to enforce that change in the ordinance, okay? So this change that you are seeing today is a concern that many residents have called me about parking, overnight parking. Again, this is just the first reading of a proposed ordinance and trying to revamp the entire overnight parking situation within University Park, as well as being creative and adding different rules. I'm not opposed to restricting parking at all on Vernon. This is why we're asking for board input. If there are streets where parking needs to be prohibited, period, overnight or not, please let us know those streets, and we will add them accordingly or look into those accordingly.
Thank you.
Also, after this first reading is done, I will go to the Director of Public Works and the Fire Chief to get additional input. This is why this is strictly first reading, so the board can answer the required questions and provide input so this can be reshaped and revamped.
Thank you. Trustee Austin.
To echo the sentiments of both my colleagues and the village manager, I think I like what's been written so far. I think it's a very good attempt. There are some changes I'd like to see made in regards to the overnight portion of the parking regulations. In particular, I think maybe the first one ought to be free. The second one is a charge, and then if you want a third one, there's an additional charge. So it graduated from first to second to third. Also, there should be other parking regulations, as our interim manager mentioned. When I first got assigned this, we were worried about parking on Burnham and Sandy. That was specifically mentioned, and there might have been other streets as well. Also, with the construction going on Blackhawk and Sandy, we might want to look into if there's a way automatic changes in the regulations when we're doing road work on making streets where a bus or along a bus route. So those would be some additional things that we should look into and add for the second reading. Also, Madam Mayor, I ask that you make the second reading only for the next meeting, and then a third reading, so make it true 1, 2, 3, rather than 1 and 2.
And that's what the plan is.
And that is Trustee Austin Brown President.
No, it's not.
And Trustee Williams, they're working together. Okay, he said it's his turn. Okay, Love on here. All right.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions here. What's his comment? So am I understanding correctly that a resident can purchase a overnight parking permit for the year?
So this is the issue that the police department's been running into. So overnight parking is a police department responsibility. So every night we get several requests for overnight parking. Several nights it's the same vehicles every night. They call Eastcom every night saying we're doing parking overnight. What we've discovered is the ordinance never put into place a way to regulate people that do regular overnight parking. There's nothing saying that, okay, after the third time you request overnight parking, you're charged something or you're prohibited to do something. I will tell you that the individuals that park on the street using overnight parking is a very small percentage of the residents in our village. What we're proposing is to prevent the tracking mechanism of somebody requesting overnight parking several times. If a resident does not have room in their driveway, which our average driveway could fit 4 vehicles, if there's a 6th, 7th, or 8th vehicle, or 9th vehicle, that optionally, not mandatory, but by option, they can purchase a yearly overnight parking permit that is transferable per vehicle. So it's not a permit that sticks in the car permanently. It's a permit that the resident or homeowner maintains in their home, and if they have somebody parking overnight and they cannot fit in their driveway, they basically place this permit inside the vehicle. The police department sees it, a citation is not written. Compared to us saying, and going back to how things were in the past, where my officers go out and write about 70 overnight parking tickets, and I have about 25 residents calling me the next day saying, hey, I had somebody staying here, we didn't know, we didn't call, and there was a lot of confusion. And then some of those tickets, you know, we either are dismissed at the administrative review process when it comes to the third Wednesday of the month, or we're dealing with other complications. So what I'm trying to do is simplify the process so the police department is not inundated with phone calls at night requesting permission for overnight parking from the same people every day.
I don't have a problem with that, you know. I noticed that we hadn't established what that cost would be. I'd like to see what the recommendation would be if that. So I understand clearly what the issue is now. There are a couple of grammatical things here, but I'll just give that to the clerk. The other thing was the issuance of these permits, because the way this is written is that you can only get it during business hours at Village Hall. And, you know, right now, Village Hall is only open, Monday through noon on Thursday. Right. So sometimes, I know this has happened with me, you know, people that now come in late, they're going to decide they're going to stay, and we would call, you know. So this was very rarely happening. But in my opinion, we should be able to, or whoever should be able to also maybe go to the police station and get a permit if it's just for an overnight deal rather than an annual parking thing.
Understood. So how we're looking at that, first, as far as the fee structure for overnight parking and the implementation, this would not be, if this ordinance is passed at third reading, this would not be an immediate implementation. We're actually looking at a 1-year implementation process. So what the 1-year implementation process does, it will take a year. So it'll take a year to implement the fee-based portion of the ordinance, not the inaction of the ordinance itself, but just the fee-based portion of the ordinance. Number one, because of our difficulties in putting information out to the residents, we wanted to give residents enough leeway and understanding and time and questions before this is done. And the issuance of those permits will be done at the same time annually during the time village stickers are purchased. And each home would be eligible to purchase up to 4 on an optional basis of those permits.
4 permits.
Just a second, excuse me.
Could we look into the ability for them to purchase their parking permits online Even if
Yeah,
it's,
that's-
you know, if it's just a single overnight thing.
That's
they
no
can-
problem.
Yeah, they can purchase it online, print something out, stick it in their window.
That's fine.
Okay.
Trustee Wilson?
So have you compared this version here to neighboring towns or other villages?
Our attorney has.
What I found in different places, it's done differently, no matter which municipality you're looking at. Some places do it where if you want an overnight parking permit, you have to get it for one night, and as he stated, you can get 3 within a year, I think is your limit. Other places do it on a monthly basis. In Oak Park, one municipality that has overnight parking permits, the fee schedule is broken down based upon where you are at within the village. It's different fees depending where you're at. So the fee structure is a little different no matter where you go, but we're going to try to see if we can put a survey together of different fees.
Which is why the fee section is blank for the first reading, because we wanted to get the input from the board.
Well, I wasn't really concerned about the fee structure because it's blank. I mean the yearly permit. So if you offer up to 4 permits per house per year, it looks like it's defeating the purpose.
No, trustee. So when I say 4 permits, these are not permits assigned permanently to whoever you give them to. These are permits that you issue to an overnight guest. At the end of their stay, you get them back.
I thought you said we're charging, we allow people to get one for a year.
No, so what we allow each, what is looked at and can be tweaked, is each household can purchase 4 for 4 vehicles. For 4 vehicles, okay? When you have an overnight visitor, you give them the permit, it's placed in the vehicle. Upon them leaving, they give it to you back. It belongs to the household, not to the vehicle of your visitor.
Right, but, so my question is though, so if you have too many cars to fit in your driveway and your garage, and you buy these 4 permits, and they're good for a year, somebody can park there every night, that same vehicle, for a year. 4 vehicles,
They have 4.
4 vehicles every night, if they had 4 people, I'm sorry. 4, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
4 people can stay on the street every night.
So you're asking the number to be reduced? I'm
I
just
was
trying to
just making-
understand.
Is that what? am I
It can be
correct?
4, it's 3 listed now, it could be 4, it could be 2. If the board wants to look at reducing that number can be reduced.
Sorry, just a second. Mr. Trust, Ms. Wayne is everybody, go ahead, Ms. Trust.
Perhaps this ordinance may also contain some kind of discretion for the police department, because there are instances when people are having maybe some construction done on their house, and some things have to be parked on the street.
Blacktop in the driveway or something.
Blacktop in the driveway, or I was having some extensive work done in my house, the things had to be parked on the street. But I'm a business person, but I do not put my business trucks on the street